Hey, what's going on, guys? Bflattened here with a brand new video today. Today we're going to be covering SalaMozer. This is going to be the Salamander Moze build that was in the biofuel bug video just a few days earlier. Probably going to be the only Salamander Moze build that is not only viable, but probably the only one that you'll probably see on YouTube. And I said probably a lot in that sentence. Let's go ahead and cover the skills and everything that has to do with this build, shall we? So in the blue tree, we're rocking out Fire in the Skag's Den, of course. Splash damage, you do bonus fire damage, and it's Mayhem scaled 31 times over. We cover Stainless Steel Bear because Stainless Steel Bear is going to be doing not only Iron Bear damage and armor, but it's also going to be boosting Skag's Den even further. We're doing deadlines so that the Iron Bear weapons drain less fuel. This is super good for what we're going to be doing because we want to stay in Bear as long as possible. For cross promotion, whenever you do splash damage, you have splash damage increase, and also the splash radius is going to be doubled in size. 15% chance to get doubled. Whenever you do splash damage, you get ammo and grenade chance for means of destruction. Inside our purple tree is where our main tree is going to be hosted. Really big guns, Iron Bear gains increased damage by 28%. We get 2 points from our class mod in here, but it's 5 out of 5 normally. Big surplus, we've talked about this one before. When Moze's action skill is cooling down, she deals bonus fire damage. It's Mayhem scaled 31 times over, and is just an all-around incredible skill. We do biofuel 3 out of 5. Whenever Moze or Iron Bear ignites an enemy, they regenerate health for a few times. This is essential for how the build is going to work, and how the bug is going to work together. I tried to do it with only 1 out of 5 because it works with any amount of points into it. However, to move down as much as I do in the tree, you need to put 3 out of 5 into it, because nothing else is really worthwhile to put into here. Explosive Fury unfortunately doesn't work, so I'm just going to rule that out now for you guys. Double time, whenever Moze's action skill is active, she and Iron Bear gain increased movement speed. You get 12% movement speed. Whenever Iron Bear applies a status effect to an enemy, she gains increased fire rate for a short time. This is going to be helpful for our guns. Nitrodium engines, you get maximum fuel and action skill cooldown rate. It's 7 out of 5 because of our class mod. However, we get 2 points out of it, so it's 5 out of 5 normally. 5 out of 5 never going to give you up. Whenever Moze or Iron Bear applies a status effect to an enemy, Iron Bear gains fuel. This skill has diminishing returns. So whenever we shoot our guns, we light an enemy on fire. Whenever we light an enemy on fire, we gain fuel back. This is going to keep us in Bear for a very long time. Superior Firepower, whenever Moze or Iron Bear inflicts a status effect enemy, they get status effect damage. This is going to be helpful for keeping dot damage applied. It goes 5 stacks. Limit Break for 1 out of 3. Moze gains increased action skill cooldown rate whenever she or Iron Bear inflict a status effect on an enemy. It stacks. Feature Creep is just an incredible skill to have. You gain damage and damage resistance. 18% Iron Bear damage, and the damage resistance is 45%. And finally, Running on Fumes, 1 from our class mod and 1 point invested into it. 2 out of 1 on it. Whenever Moze or Iron Bear ignites an enemy, Iron Bear does not consume fuel for 12 seconds because of this. So whenever we shoot an enemy, we get fuel back. Whenever we shoot an enemy, we proc Running on Fumes, so we get 12 free seconds of free fire. Next up in our tree is the green tree. Cloud of Lead. You sometimes don't consume ammo every 4 shots, and you do bonus fire damage. Daka Bear, Iron Bear damage is increased. Stoke the Embers, Moze and Iron Bear's fire damage is increased by 30%. Redistribution, after scoring a crit, you regenerate health and ammo. This is also pretty helpful for biofuel bug. Scrappy, whenever moving, Moze's weapon damage is increased by 24%. Scorching RPMs, you get fire rate and critical hit damage. Iron Bear gains hardpoint damage. We put 5 points into here because the Iron Bear damage is 25%, and it's just an all-around good skill for what we're doing with this build. And finally, Specialist Bear, if equipping the 2 of the same guns, you get 60% Iron Bear damage. Now, this will work if you equip any of them. As long as we're using Salamander as our main, you can use any augment with Salamander in order to gain from that. So if you want to do 2 Molten Roar, you can. If you want to do 1 Chemical Warfare and Molten Roar, you can. It's all going to work together. We have nothing in the red tree because we don't need anything in the red tree simply for this build. Okay, into our gear. We use a Guardian Angel for an Iron Bear active Salamander damage is increased. This will help for our Elemental Persistent Contact Grenade. There's going to be lighting enemies on fire whenever we take damage, which is going to help with biofuel. It's just another source of fire damage. And it's also going to be increased with the Guardian Angel Inside Bear. Free Radical is just there for Fight for Our Life. And the Prompt Critical is there to proc the Eternal Flame so that we can get our bear back as soon as possible. It has splash damage radius, splash damage, and action skill damage. The action skill damage actually works with Fire in the Skag's Den. It boosts it even further for even more damage for it. The splash damage and splash damage radius is just going to be boosting everything splash related. We have a Flesh Melter Victory Rush. If we choose to go over to Chemical Warfare, we get the Flesh Melter ability. Killing an enemy with corrosion damage increases your damage with corrosion. So if you want to go over to Flesh Melter, you can, and it actually works really, really well. Other than that, the fire damage and AoE is going to be the big passes on here. So make sure to keep this so you can utilize the AoE and fire damage. It goes really, really well with splash damage radius and splash damage. And finally, we have an Old God with the fire damage on here. It'll increase all of our fire damage exponentially. And that's going to be doing it for the skills and also for our gear. Now into the bug. If you haven't seen the biofuel bug, this is how it works. So if you light an enemy on fire at the same time that your Iron Bear is going to be dying, your Iron Bear will not go away. It will not die. As you can see onto my left, you can see me hitting 0 constant times, but we're not actually dying. This is because biofuel just says no to death of Iron Bear, and you just keep going. You heal over you losing Iron Bear. This is completely unintentional because as soon as you hit 0, you're supposed to lose your bear. However, it's not. This is going to be your survivability in the build, of course. You got to be careful for dot damage and barrels because those will actually apply mayhem barrel damage to you, and that dot damage will kick you out of your bear. If you do get kicked out of your bear, make sure to use your prompt critical. Your prompt critical is going to be proccing the flame, and it's going to be getting you your Iron Bear back right away. Now, like I said, you can use... you are able to use 1-in-1 if you would like. However, both fire also works just fine. Door's not open yet. Okay, now door is open. So for Kraken and armor-related bosses, I would actually suggest Chemical Warfare, especially with the Flesh Melter. Flamethrower heavyweights are going to be your kryptonite if you're not doing 1-in-1. You do actually have to hit their crit. Hitting their crit will allow you to do damage. However, it is very annoying too, and I'm not very good at it. So I would probably suggest 1-in-1 for those flamethrower heavyweights. Most of the time, though, I just ignore them. You could also hop out and shoot him with a free radical if you really don't like him. Go ahead and move on to Valks. I'm actually going to move on to a 1-in-1 after this. Yeah, we're going to do 1-in-1 for this. Excellent. Oh, I put on fire. Salamander instead. Whoops. I meant to do corrosion. Oh well. Fire damage will work just fine. Excellent. Now, as you can constantly see on my armor bar, that's what you want to pay attention to. You can constantly see it hitting 0, just like you saw in the biofuel bug if you watched that video. I'll probably link it in the description because it goes over it a little bit more. But we hit 0 constantly, and we do not lose Iron Bear. This completely counters the problem that Molten had, and that was that huge splash radius problem that just damaged you and kicked you out right away. But utilizing the biofuel healing interaction, you don't have that problem anymore. You just run over everything, bosses, enemies, does not matter. Like I said, I would suggest going over to chemical warfare. I did fuel economy for some reason. I would do chemical warfare and molten roar. You can utilize the flesh melter like I was talking about earlier, and you can also get rid of enemies that are immune to fire, like those fire heavyweights. Other than that, there's not too much to the build besides knowing how the biofuel bug works. So like I said, I would suggest looking at the video that I posted a few days earlier. And other than that, the entire build is here. It will be in Discord, of course. I think that's going to cover everything for this build. My name is Bflattened, and I'm signing on out of here. Take care, all. Laters.